Let's talk about one of the trickiest but most important decisions any business has to make: pricing. You know, it's so much more than just a number. It's really a complex puzzle, and if you solve it, you can unlock some serious growth. But if you get it wrong, well, it can put everything at risk. So let's dive in and start piecing it together.
You know, there's this old Russian proverb that just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures the pricing tightrope we all have to walk. If you price too low, you're just leaving money on the table. But if you go too high, you might scare everyone away. It's this high-stakes balancing act. So the real question is, what happens when you actually get that balance just right? Well, think about this for a second. A huge study by McKinsey found something pretty incredible. For the average big company, just a 1% improvement in price, just 1% leads to a staggering 11.1% jump in operating profit. That single lever has way more impact than improving sales volume or cutting costs by that same 1%. The takeaway here is crystal clear. Getting your price right is pretty much the fastest way to a much healthier bottom line.
Okay, so if the stakes are that high, why do so many companies seem to get it wrong? Well, a lot of the time, it's because pricing is treated like an afterthought, Prices don't get revised to keep up with the market or, and this is a big one, they're set in this little bubble, totally disconnected from the company's marketing strategy. It becomes this reactive game when it absolutely needs to be a proactive one.
So how do we move from just guessing to having a real system? Well, what you need is a playbook. So let's walk through a 6-step framework that can really help any business, big or small, figure out the complexities of setting that perfect price. And here it is, the whole roadmap. See, it all starts with your main objective. What are you actually trying to achieve? From there, we'll look at demand, we'll estimate your costs, and then you got to check out the competition. It's only after you really understand those fundamentals that you can pick an approach and finally land on that final price. This whole process, it's designed to take the guesswork right out of the equation.
But wait, before we even dig into those 6 steps, we have to talk about the foundation. Every single pricing decision, and I mean every one, rests on this simple but really powerful idea: the 3 C's. These are the 3 pillars you absolutely must understand inside and out, and they are customers, costs, and competitors.
So here's how these 3 pillars actually work together. Think of it like this. Your company's costs, that sets the price floor. It's the absolute minimum you can charge without losing money. Then you have your customers, the value they see in your product. That sets the ceiling, the absolute maximum the market is willing to pay. And then, somewhere between that floor and that ceiling, your competitors' prices act like a compass, helping you figure out where you fit in. If you ignore any one of these, you're just asking for trouble.
Now, most companies do it the old-fashioned way, right? They figure out their costs, and then they add a markup. But what if you flipped that completely on its head? That's the whole idea behind something called target costing. You actually start with the price the market is willing to pay, then you subtract the profit you want to make. And whatever's left, that's your target cost. The challenge for your whole company then becomes, okay, how do we innovate to actually hit that number? It's a really powerful shift from cost-plus to market-first thinking.
But here's a really important point. Pricing isn't something you just set and forget. A price that works perfectly at launch might be totally wrong a year later. Your strategy has to be alive. It has to be dynamic, evolving right alongside your product as it moves through its entire life cycle.
And this classic curve right here shows the 4 key chapters in any product story. You've got the introduction, the growth phase, maturity, and finally decline. Each one of these stages brings completely different challenges and, of course, different opportunities, especially when it comes to your pricing.
Right at the beginning, at launch, you've got a huge choice to make. Do you go for what's called market skimming? That's where you start with a really high price to capture those early adopters, the people who are willing to pay a premium for the newest thing. Think about a new iPhone launch. Or do you choose market penetration? That's where you launch with a low price to grab a huge chunk of the market fast and basically build a wall against competitors. 2 very different strategies for 2 very different goals.
And as your product moves on, your tactics have to change too. In the growth stage, you might start to lower the price a bit to bring in more price-sensitive buyers. During maturity, when the market is crowded with competitors, you might create good, better, best versions at different price points. And then, in decline, and this might sound crazy, you might actually raise the price to harvest the last bits of demand from your super loyal, die-hard customers.
Okay, so these principles, they apply pretty broadly, but the rules of the game can really change in some specialized arenas. So let's take a quick look at how pricing works in the really complex world of business-to-business sales and in the crazy, fast-paced digital marketplace.
In the B2B world, that list price is almost never the final price. Usually, it's just the starting point for a negotiation. And here, things like relationships and fairness are absolutely key. You better be able to justify any price changes you make. Pricing isn't just about the product. It's all tied up with service levels, delivery schedules, and sometimes it's all decided by competitive bids. It's a much more complex dance.
And then there's the internet, which has just completely flipped the power dynamic in pricing. I mean, it's given buyers this incredible transparency. They can compare prices instantly from all over the world, or even name their own price on some sites. But it's also given sellers some powerful new tools. They can track customer behavior to create personalized offers or give loyal customers exclusive deals. It's created this much more fluid and responsive marketplace for everyone.
So what's the result of all this new technology? Well, we are now officially living in the era of dynamic pricing. Just think about how the price of an Uber ride shoots up when it starts to rain, or how airline tickets get more and more expensive as you get closer to your flight. Thanks to some really sophisticated algorithms, price is no longer this static number. It's a living, breathing variable that can change minute by minute, based on demand, inventory, and all sorts of customer data.
So, what's the big takeaway from all this? Pricing has officially moved out of the accounting department and right into the heart of a brand strategy. Your price tells a story. It communicates your value, your quality, and your position in the market. Honestly, it's one of the most powerful storytelling tools you have at your disposal.
And that brings us to the final and most important question. Every price you set sends a message. Is that message one of exclusivity and premium quality? Or is it one of accessibility and everyday value? Or is it just sending a confusing signal? So I'll leave you with this to think about. If your price is telling a story, what story is yours telling?